Thank you for joining us on this Monday afternoon. This is the Frank Sontag Show. Happy late Father's Day to those of you that are dads out there. I pray and trust that your day went well. So here's the question for you. Are you ready? Are you ready for what can happen any time in terms of the ruling by the Supreme Court as it applies to their definition of marriage? And when I think of thousands of years, literally, of unquestioned morals and a social tradition in our country, and the world for that matter, in humanity, as it applies to this topic, now we're going to rely on 9 human beings to somehow give their definition. I would hope and pray that in this moment, each and every one of you listening right now will pray and continue to pray and have been praying that the Supreme Court will once again establish in their view, which has always been one and the same, that marriage is between a man and a woman. And we will see any day the ruling will come down. And part of what I want to open the phones and ask you to call in and talk about at 888-995-5552 is, are you ready? Is this something you've prayed and thought a great deal about, or is this just something you've put in the back of your mind because life can get so overwhelming and we get caught up in our stuff, and then issues such as this that would directly impact all of us as Christians, from just subtly to very overtly. Just wonder how many of us have just marginalized it off into, well, yeah, that's coming sometime and we'll see what happens, versus being proactive. I mean, when I think about the issue, and in my mind I think about, okay, let's just say the Supreme Court says they are redefining marriage and legalizing gay marriage. For those of you that are skeptical, you may say, all right, what's the big deal? Sorry, it may hurt your faith-based feelings a little bit, but what's the big deal? And it's my position to say, if you think that's where this is going to stop, I have to just tell you, look at what's been happening over the last just few years. There is an intention here, in my position, that those that are pushing this type of ideology want to punish dissenters, want to publish dissenters. And if you think that marriage will be the only issue, guess what? It's on the horizon. Transgender rights. And then if that's not enough, I really honestly, in my heart of hearts, wonder if this may be the wave that will begin persecution in our country. When I think of the possibility that pastors and those in position of running churches will be forced to perform gay weddings. And you may go, well, why are you saying that? You're spreading fear, or you're so hateful, for those of you that may be in the position of buying this equal rights, civil rights, love comes in many forms. I just want to be clear. I'm not a guy that sits around and condemns and judges harshly, especially non-believers, since most of my life I was in that camp. I know as a Christian man, who I'm called to judge would be fellow Christians, which is another topic for another conversation. But I'm just saying, the Supreme Court is going to rule any day now whether marriage will be redefined. And if that happens, all the signs are in position, if you've been watching at all, of what may come after that. So are you ready? Are you ready if this happens? Are you ready to truly stand up for your faith? Especially if the wave of persecution begins. Some may argue it's already begun. And I can cite story after story. You may say that's not real persecution, but just today, earlier today, Another Christian family-run business is closing after refusing to host a gay wedding. Texas Christian woman fined up to $2,000 for feeding homeless in a park. She argues it's her religious freedom right. We hear story after story. The left is not happy with our position. The left is not happy with religious freedom in this country, especially as it applies to Christianity. So I would love to hear your comments. It's my intention starting here, we can get into deep conversations about First Amendment and what that means for religious belief and expression and all of that stuff. We can hypothesize and speculate, which I don't like to do. But all I know is before the program, praying about it, thinking about it, the decision is coming. And when you talk about compassion, as a Christian man, I know it will never lead to saying somehow biblical authority doesn't rule, or somehow we need to redefine the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's not where I stand on this position at all. A Christian will never waver from the biblical authority of the Bible and how we perceive and understand God's word in the gospel of Jesus Christ. We have nothing to be ashamed of. Some have been forced almost to apologize for our position as it applies to this particular politicized topic now as well.